Hello and welcome to the Bedtime Storycast, a podcast where I talk and you fall asleep. I invite you to get comfortable under the covers. Take a nice deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. And settle in as we take a relaxing visualization journey to the Great Barrier Reef. Sweet dreams. The salty spray of the ocean wafts up with every gentle lurch of the boat, misting its occupants and sprinkling dark against the wetsuit stretched snug over your skin. The thrumming motor sputters one last time before petering into silence, leaving only the soft roar of distant waves and the pattering lap of rippling water around the boat's hull. A sparkling sea of blue extends on all sides, as far as your eyes can see. To the east, the sky and sea melt into a brilliant blue curtain, the horizon indistinguishable from the water, where the white caps cease at the edge of your vision. To the west, the water's surface glints brightly in the sunlight, obscuring your view of the world beneath the waves. You shield your eyes with your hands, the warmth of the sun welcome on your skin. As you close your eyes and inhale deeply, the wind is rich with salt, heady with the scent of ocean-dwelling creatures, thick with water-bogged plant life. You look to the captain and tighten your oxygen tanks to your back upon a wizened nod. It's time. The hull of the metal boat is cold to your backside as you lean against it. Your goggles slide down over your face, filling your nose with the smell of new plastic. Your lips tighten around the bulky coolness of your regulator, and the tanks on your back seem to be pulling you down, edging you over the side of the boat until you're hanging freely over the water, beckoning you further into the waiting paradise. One last deep breath on the ocean-misted air sets your resolve and lends calm to your bones. Your body relaxes. Your mind quiets. The captain nods once more and flashes you a thumbs up. You're ready. You barely register the splash as you fall back into the ocean. The warm, blue water enveloping you tightly on all sides, holding you in place. Your limbs feel free, buoyant, able to move effortlessly in the thickening atmosphere. You breathe in deep, the fresh oxygen of your tank flooding your lungs cleanly. And as you exhale, the air trapped by the water sputters into shaky globules that wiggle and wobble their way to the surface. As the bubbles trapped by your initial descent pass you by, wiggling up against your wetsuit to disappear to the world above, your vision clears, alighting to your eyes your first glimpse of the world under the waves. The ocean blue extends in all directions. Beams of sunlight trickling and playing through the water until the light and swirling ether mesh into a blue haze in the distance, curtaining the treasures on the horizon. You flip your feet, to which your surroundings respond with a gentle swoosh as you float gently down. Around you, the world awakens in flashy bursts of color, pink and blue and green and orange, flitting every which way. The inhabitants of this underground city grow inquisitive of the intruder in their midst. As you flutter gently in the easy current, suspended in this serene, underwater reality, the first lone, curious fish lazily drifts into your line of sight. Green and blue scales shimmer over its bulbous head, blending into a duller teal around its round, bulging body. Giant lips gape open and closed as the sluggish creature examines this new addition to its home. Tiny eyes like dull marbles seem uncaring of your presence, belied only by the unhurried flapping of its paper-thin fins as it draws closer. You slowly extend your hand to the wrasse, fingers open and palm out, to which it kicks its tail and glides by you in a small burst of bubbles. And as the water clears before you once more, The coral reef beneath your feet shimmers into view for the first time. Two steep rock walls dotted in hundreds of colors, most tinged blue in the shallow depths of the ocean. White sand sets a backdrop in the crevices of the rocks, and scattered over the ocean floor, tiny granules blowing every which way under the persistent administrations of the current. Rising at an angle from the ocean floor at the center of the shallow valley, a pile of brilliantly colored corals stretch their bony fingers to catch food particles floating by in the current. The rocky outcropping on which these creatures make their home is crowned by an array of orange and purple polyps swirling about with silent life. Extending wide on all sides, the rocks at the base dig deeper into the sand, dotted about by smaller corals and green saltwater plants waving in the underwater breeze, providing a home in what was long ago a barren wasteland. Round, yellow corals with long, thin tendrils grow from the center of the outcropping in front of you, surrounded on all sides by pink, vaguely brain-like cousins. And behind these, tucked deeper into the recesses of the rock, green and purple corals with wide bases and short, stubby fingers peek out, coarsely textured and molded into the shape of a water lily leaf. From the foot of this rock pile spreads clusters of the stemmy creatures, younger corals exuberantly sharing their palette and potential with the reef. To your left, set atop a backdrop of tan and orange and green corals, a large school of tiny pink fish whiz to and fro in their daily activities. Several juveniles dart down to the ocean floor, nibbling at plants and small growths for mere seconds before flitting back to their group. Above them, circling wisely, the adults of the school eye you with great suspicion. And as you flick your feet, so too do they flick their fins, keeping one step ahead of this trespasser in their midst. And beneath your feet, short, plump corals splashed with green and teal and yellow serve as the meeting grounds for minuscule orange fish that dart in and out of sight. Purple and pink pads, folded and layered, appear to cascade stilly from the edge of the rocks down to the sandy floor, tucking into the cool, shifting ground. These frilly corals sit neatly between two bulging, rounded stones, covered in a maze of green plants, some resembling mosses blanketing every inch of naked space. And creeping silently out from the last clearings of rock face, dotted around the landscape, petite, flesh-colored polyps appear to be waving, a trick played by the gentle swirl of the ocean waves through the reef valley. To your right sprouts a bed of pink and purple anemones, the thick appendages wiggling back and forth in slow rhythm. As you drift closer, your feet barely kicking against the resistance of the watery atmosphere, a clownfish peers its head out for a quick peek at this giant newcomer, lazily twisting its orange and black body to watch you glide by. And just beyond the anemones flutter a school of bright yellow fish with round bodies and even curvier fins, their whole bodies flicking against the salty air. Gray scales shaped like a teardrop extend downward from their eyes, little black beads that examine you with mild curiosity as you float through their domain. And then the group splits in two, unhurried in their movements as they calmly scatter to new polyp-filled platforms. From the cloud of bubbles emerges the leathery brown head of a lumbering sea turtle. A beak-like nose is the first to break into your view, followed shortly behind by ancient eyes that gaze over you with the wisdom of 100 years of traveling the earth. Wing-like flippers roll forward and flap down in a smooth rowing motion. Each flick of the turtle's limbs an effortless heave. The sleek, weighty shell, attached at the neck and curving down to clasp tightly over the smooth, algae-covered underside, seems to be of no hindrance to the peaceful creature's agile movements. The turtle closes in on your presence, gliding smoothly until it is face to face with the plastic of your goggles. Sedately, deliberately, the inquisitive creature swims a circle around you, seemingly enraptured by the gently flicking flippers encasing your feet, before coming up behind you and pushing deeper into the reef. As you flipper on into a small clearing in the rocks, an abundance of starfish wiggle their way into your vision over the white sand. Each brilliantly colored creature inches its way forward, slow and sure in its course. Some are tracking their prey, others gliding toward the rock face that will serve as their shelter in the coming low tide. The crown of thorn starfish is the first to catch your attention. A huge, purple-backed creature with a fuchsia rim and neat rows of 1-inch spikes extending from each of its 20 arms. The magnificent creature climbs its way up an exposed rock, waving one of its many tendrils in the current, almost as if in greeting. Several feet away, crawling up the back of a white, fluffy like coral, wiggles a bright blue starfish with 5 long arms and a tiny, humped center. A myriad of white and blue freckles seems to make the starfish's back shimmer in the swirling water. Further in front of you, a squirming mass of creatures separates themselves slowly from a fidgeting blob into a heaping pile of starfish. Each sluggish critter wriggling away from its peers. Orange, stubby starfish are leisurely trampled upon by long-legged purple cousins, while tough-skinned pink neighbors prickle their way to the edges of the pile. And at the center of it all, one lone brown starfish seems content to sit and wait until its family has writhed itself out of energy, all 5 limbs twirling back and forth in small, deliberate motions. You check your watch to see that you have been down here almost 30 minutes. It's nearly time to wish this watery underworld a fond farewell. You push forward once more, hitting the depths of your dive as you reach out to press your hand into the wet, shimmering sand of the seafloor. The gritty texture is smooth between your fingers, soothed and separated by the water swirling around your hand. And picking up a pile of sand, you watch the tiny granules cascade down from your fingers, each grain denting the ocean floor before being pushed aside by the next. And as you look up to begin your ascent back to your own realm, you stop, your attention caught by movement at the very edge of the reef. Your breath lightly catches, and then you exhale slowly in silent awe of the sight before you. The rounded, white and gray snub nose of a black-tip shark slowly meanders into view, followed by a sleek, coarsely scaled body. Two fins spread wide and angled down, twitch with small movements in the water as the creature slowly swings around to view you from the side. One black, beady eye gazes into yours, the docile hunter quietly curious about this strange, new intruder in its hunting grounds. The shark swings around to pass by you once more, the black tips on its sail swinging back and forth in effortless rhythm. Back and forth, side to side, propelling forward with an ease your flippers could only dream of attaining. And then the shark passes by you, and the moment is gone. You watch as the predatory giant flicks its way through the reef valley, now deserted by the colorful pescatarian inhabitants, leaving only the polyp-filled corals of Australia's Great Barrier Reef to wish you farewell. You turn your face up to the surface for the first time since your descent and kick your feet gently. The water swirls invitingly around your legs, drawing you in and beckoning you to stay. You look down as the reef begins to hue blue once more, shimmering slightly in the few rays of sunshine that penetrate to the shallow depths of the valley's edge. Swimming at the edge of your vision, the last sight you see before your head breaks the surface of the water. The black-tipped shark glides deeper into the reef and disappears around a bend.